Hello everyone, thank you for coming at this late hour. Today we would like to tell you about our journey with Flutter. If you didn't use Flutter before, we hope that after this talk you will try it, and if you have some doubts about it, maybe we'll help you answer your questions. Before we start, how many people have tried Flutter before?
Wow.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that, but good.
And how many of you are using Flutter at your job? Wow, okay.
Good.
That's cool.
So we made our presentations in beginners and advanced users in mind, so hopefully everyone will find something good for themselves. Okay, so first let us introduce ourselves. So my name is Rafal. I first tried Flutter almost 3 years ago when I was living in Tokyo, and I was looking for new fast ways to develop applications, and one of my colleagues recommended me Flutter as a good alternative. Then I moved to UK, where I was working as Android developer in Miquido, and after half a year I joined the research and development team, where my Flutter adventure started for good.
Yep. In my case, I heard about Flutter at one of the Google I/Os, but to be honest, I was quite skeptical at the beginning because I thought that this is just another flaky cross-platform framework. Sometime later, I moved to England. I started working with Rafal. Was spamming about Flutter every single day, like literally. So I kind of had to read more about it. And once I did, I got fascinated. Because as everyone already know, Flutter is a cross-platform framework for creating apps. That's cool, that's useful, but how is it different than others? What makes it special? And to me, Flutter turned out to be many things done right. If you look into its history, you'll find out that the creators from Google took many years of experience of creating UI platforms, mobile apps, and software in general, and use it all to create Flutter. And this is something you can really feel and see in various aspects of Flutter. But today I would like to talk about 3 key things that made me personally convinced to it. So first one is less or actually no bridges, as opposed to other popular cross-platform framework. Second one is hot reload and hot restart, which immensely boosts developers' productivity. And finally, easy to create UIs with fast-performing views, animations, and without compromises with designers. So on lower level, Flutter works different than other cross-platform frameworks. And this is quite important. So it's not using WebView like Ionic, nor any bridges for drawing UI like React Native or Xamarin. And thanks to this fact, it has much, much better performance, and you can expect Flutter animations to always work fast and reliably. Finally, Flutter defines, creates, and draws all widgets by itself, which means that we are not tied to views exposed by 10-year-old Android or iOS as the case. Thanks to this, it's easy to build apps in Material or Cupertino design, but it's also very easy to create apps in very custom, fancy designs. Next big thing is hot reload and hot restart. So with hot reload, we can deploy changes in our code to the device in less than 1 second. And it works for most of the things like changing text, colors, shapes, positions, layouts, just anything you need to quickly test your UI. There are a few circumstances when it won't work, in which case we have to use hot restart to completely restart the app with our changes. But this will take only up to a few seconds. And both these things actually scale well, which means that even when our app gets bigger and bigger, we'll have thousands of classes. Times of hot reload and hot restart will still be so short. And this duet is one of the main advantages of Flutter, because it is such a huge productivity gain and makes testing our app a pleasant and fast experience. Finally, in Flutter, everything you see on the screen is a widget. Everything. So what's more, all widgets are highly composable, they are easy to change and easy to combine with each other. And this is something you appreciate and understand better once you start coding, but today we would like to give you a small demo just to give you a glimpse of it.
Okay, so let's switch to the demo. I hope it will work. It seems like you shouldn't do live demos, but we like to live on edge, so.
Yeah. So I will be like a product owner, and this will be a developer. And we have this idea for an application in which you can store your contacts. Very exciting.
Yeah, I've never seen a startup like this. Okay, so can everyone see a screen, I guess? Yeah, okay. So in Flutter, every application starts with the main, like probably most of you know now. Then we have our main widget, which is usually a material app. There are also a Cupertino one, but let's focus on the material app for now. And we have our homepage, which is thus an empty scaffold, which is just a widget to specify how all material widgets look like. And in our example, we have small people repository to actually fetch our contacts just for the sake of it. So, Mr. Manager, what should I do?
So since we want to have a catalog of contacts, how about you start with some list of people?
Okay, fair enough. So maybe first, let me just fetch those people here. So in Flutter, we can actually skip the type. Not many people know about it, but we actually can. And we can fetch some people. And then we have many built-in widgets. So just we have the custom builder, which takes the context and the index, which I could spell. And then we can simply return our text. And this also like many modern languages. So with Dart, we have string interpolation. We can put some logic in it. So let's take the index of the person, the name, but we also need to have one more thing since we are creating this, but we don't know how many items we have yet. So we need to specify the count of the items. So simply the length. And now we will see the hot restart in action. So if I will save, then we should see something on the screen. So let's save. Good. The demo works. that's good. Okay, so what's next? I think we are not yet done.
Just refactor a bit code to move the item view to separate class?
Okay, cool. That's easy since everything in Flutter is a widget. We can simply mark something and extract this to the new widget. Extract the widget. Let's call it item view just for simplicity. We don't need this new. And then, actually, let me quickly go back. So what would be better to do, actually, for the sake of refactor, just extract this person to the people of index, and then you will tell me if I can code in the end. Okay, so let's refactor this to the widget again. Item view for a sec. Okay, it's now much simpler. Let's leave this view. And let's do the more string interpolation. So person, that's surname, save, and it works again. Okay, cool.
Okay, that's pretty nice.
Do you like it yet? Can we release or not?
I don't like it. it's blunt as hell. So how about we add an image of the people?
Okay, cool. So in Flutter, if we want to actually put the widget next to widget, we can use the row. And then what we can do is use the image from asset in our case, because we are using demo data. And from assets, images, and then again, string interpolation, and photo. Boom. Oh. Oopsie. You think it's not on the purpose, right? But actually, in Flutter, even if we got the exception, we can specify the height and fix our code, and we can save again. And our code works again. Is it good enough?
Yeah, so without our app didn't crash, we didn't have to restart everything again. Hot restart still worked just by fixing the mistake. Yeah, but we can see that the images have different sizes. So can you fix that as well?
Yes, you are right, as always. So we can specify some box fit, and I think for ours the box cover should be nice. So let's take it. Okay.
And by the way, we just wanted to mention that. So as you can see, we have this item view widget, and it doesn't matter how much we are changing it, whatever. This just extends widget, so we don't have to change our list view builder because it expects a widget, it gets a widget, so everything will be working. And yeah, and another example of combining widgets. Now I would like to see an image in circle.
In circle, okay. So we are going with trends here. Okay, so we can wrap something in the widget. There is a fancy one called cliprect. And what we can do is specify the border. And I think it's circular border, yeah, this one. Okay, and we need to specify the radians, how much we would like to round. So 90 should be okay, and done.
That's pretty cool, but I can see that it's quite tight. So how about you add some padding?
Okay, thanks. You are not making my life easy, I see. So let's put some padding first to the text.
Yeah, so combining widgets again.
We can specify the only to the left. We don't need to put the 0 here. Let's save it first. Okay, looks good. And maybe just another padding to the items. And yeah, done.
Okay, that's cool. But that was kind of cheating because in real world we would have to fetch data from remote source. So how about we implement that as well?
Yes, of course. So Flutter has like a built-in support for asynchronous calls. So if you use like Rx Java or Rx Swift, you will also have this streams and futures. So if you go to our fetch repository, we can see that we have now we can see that we have faked such a call with the future. Just we are waiting for 3 seconds and then return them. So what we can do is we can wrap in the widget again called future builder. Let's bear with me for a second. This is stream builder. This will be a list of person. Now what we need to do is to change it to future builder. And it's almost the same, just we need the future. And we can actually do this, and we don't need this anymore. And if we check the type now, this is the asynchronous snapshot with the types of our models. So what it has, we can check if I wish I could type, yeah. We can check if we have the data. And if the data is there, we can return our widget. And actually, we need to do one more thing, which is actually fetch the person. I mean, okay, that would be, it'll be, yeah, live demos, right? And what we a person snapshot data of
no data.
No data.
I think you don't need any arguments, right?
Yes, you're right. Okay. You know, live demos. He told me to copy this code, and I was like, nah, I don't need that. Now let's see. Yeah, okay. Everything works again. And in another case, we can just return the circular progress indicator. And if I save, then we can see there is a loading for 3 seconds, and hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, just can you move this progress indicator to the center of screen?
Okay, of course. So just wrap this in the widget. There's a helpful helper for that. Just center, save. And this is not showing because actually we need to change our state. So we need to restart the whole application. So it took like 1 second. And 1, 2, 3. And yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Okay, so this is the finish of this demo, but I know that you don't want me here to. You don't want to see me writing this for the whole day. So you have the branch here, which almost the same, but we have some small animation, doesn't matter. But what we also have here is we are checking if this is the large screen, and if it's the large screen, we are returning the grid view, and if not, it's the list view. So the feature which we want to show you is still in the preview, but hopefully this will work.
Yeah, so to be precise, Flutter for the web, it's in the developer preview, so it might not work, and it will be OK. Hopefully.
Yeah, just today. But let's hope that after a few seconds, maybe like 30, it should be OK. It should launch the Chrome. Oh, come on. It feels longer when I'm here rather than when I'm waiting at home. OK, cool. Thank you. And now please work. OK, oh, good. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, great. So we have our application, but in the grid. And what else is nice about it, if we try to resize our application, then it automatically changes the view to the mobile. So we have 2 birds with one stone. OK. So let's go back to the presentation then. Where are you? Oh. I don't see. Where is it? Please bear with me with in the second. Yes. You are not supposed to see that. Sorry. Let's just move this window. Okay. Why I cannot do that? View. Okay. Thanks. Exit full screen. Okay. Let's come back here. Okay. Good. And now, after juggling, and full screen. Okay. Great.
OK, so almost full screen, but good enough. Yeah, so what we just showed you was, of course, a very basic, simple example, but truly in practice, because of Flutter performance, hot reload, and ease of combining widgets, building complex UIs is relatively easy. And it got to the point where Flutter developers started doing UI challenges by finding various designs in the internet and then implementing them just to prove that they can. Because now all these custom fancy designs can finally be implemented, not in months, but in weeks or days.
Okay, so let's not now jump to our application, but small disclaimer, because we are working in the research and development department. We cannot tell you what our project is about because of the confidential information, but we can tell you about our experiences about it. And by the way, in the meantime, we are in creating this presentation. Michał has left already to another company, but this is not because of Flutter though. So. A little bit about our company. So it's Ocado Technology, which is a company that develops Ocado.com and Ocado Smart Platform. We especially work for Octo, which is the part of Ocado Technology focused on advanced research for OSP. And in even small aspect, our team is called 10x and is a research and development department, meaning that we try a lot of ideas. So we need to iterate quickly, and that's why Flutter worked really well for us. As an R&D department, we are discovering and prototyping new features and ideas to our main app and the future products. Okay, so let's just jump to the project that we are developing for a long time. And it was started by an intern when Flutter was still in the alpha state. And after initial tryout, we decided to go with new features and nicer UI. By the time the person who started that has already finished his internship, and that's where our Flutter journey has begun. After project gained some traction, we decided to prototype the new app in Flutter using Firebase as a quick backend. It's important to note that at that time Flutter was still new and there weren't many articles or good practices about state management, which led us to the unstructured architecture. It's still worth note that developing the project was still giving a pleasant experience thanks to Flutter features. That's when I joined the team, and I decided to start to standardize some state management techniques. I was familiar with reactive architecture, so Flutter is similar to React, so we decided to give Redux a try. If someone is not familiar with Redux, let me please explain this quickly. So it's one-way data flow, meaning you dispatch some actions which are later picked by reducers, you modify your state, and data gets propagated to the widget again. Redux was good in our case. It had clear separation of data, view, and logic. It also came from React world, meaning it had many articles describing the problems and the solutions, how to deal with them. Unfortunately, it had some cons with it, like necessity to create very small action classes or immutable data classes, and with Firebase didn't work that well at that time. Also, store and state worked really quickly, and the file was getting bigger and bigger. It also felt a little bit like event bus on Android, if you know what I mean. Although, I would like to say, if you are going to use this approach, I recommend to you those free libraries, build value, for creating like immutable data objects, Redux, and build collections, because they will make just your life easier. And then after a few sprints later, our project grew from simple prototype, and we left the research phase, meaning that our project might actually work. And we needed to make more data manipulations on our own because of machine learning and stuff. So we decided to extend backend usage to get rid of Firebase completely. And our team grew from 1 Flutter developer to 2. So that's like 100 more. And what's worth mentioning is development speed. We still could use old widgets because they were from separate files and they were really composable, and create the new screens. So we could develop fast and pivot quickly. And at that time went by and Flutter was maturing and best practices were established. And that's when Block was introduced on Dart Summit. After watching video about Block, we saw similarities to view model on Android, especially when you are using RxJava. It was familiar and also easy to navigate through code with find references or by clicking or methods and on objects. So we refactored our application to widget, block, repository, and data source. Everything sounds good in theory, but there is one thing we personally didn't know, and I didn't see it anywhere, so we decided to talk about it. The problem occurs when we want to reuse the same block on the different screens. So the way Flutter works underneath is when you have one screen, our widget tree is simple. We have our main application, homepage, and scaffold, and the rest of the widgets. We use dependency injection or create simple block, in our case, in the homepage, and we can create our contacts like we did on our demo. And thanks to Flutter mechanism, which is called inherited widgets, we can take the block object in homepage, which is higher in our hierarchy, and then we can reuse the same block later on. So thanks to that, we can cache something in the block, and you use it later. We don't have to fetch the contacts again. So we could assume that when we open a new page, our tree just gets bigger, and we can reuse our block from widget tree again, right? Unfortunately, this is not happening. What is happening, when we jump to a new page using Navigator, we create a new branch from the main app, so the block cannot be found from the tree. There are 3 solutions to this problem. First one, we can make block object as singletons. The second one, we can use some disk caching in repository or simply fetch the contacts again if that's fine with us. Or we can create blocks before creating the material app. And not only because you need to deal with those problems, but to make your life easier, I recommend, again, those libraries, which are Gedit and or provider for dependency injection, build value for immutable classes again, which also comes with JSON's realization, font awesome for more easy accessible icons, so you don't need to look for better loading spinner or whatever you want, and rxstart to manipulate streams from blog. I would also give 2 project recommendations. First is quite difficult in research phase, but if you can just start write tests from day one, because they can save you later and it's like hard to add them. And second one is to specify the lean rules, because they will make your code cleaner and basically you will have some defined way to write your code. Okay, so it's now all nice, but we need to think about the future. Things which we are experimenting now and which we look forward to are the Flutter web, of course, which looks amazing already, as you could see. Move more of stuff to provider and change notifier rather than get it. We actually have one more application which is right in this way, and code is a little bit simpler, I would say, and test some gRPC stuff for easier like data sending and synchronization DTO classes with the server.
Yep. So now I wanted to talk about a little bit about the provider, because it's recommended by Google. A lot of people from Flutter community are switching to it. We are also using it. So once you have something complicated, once you start having something like fragments, a complicated screen, or you simply want to create a reusable widget, you'll have to move some logic to separate class in different file. And this is, of course, nothing new. It's very useful, but it comes with a problem. How are we going to access state from parent widget? So let's look at a specific example. We have a simple screen with 2 text fields and 1 card view. And every time user inputs new first name or last name, we'll update our state, and the card will display a new welcoming message. Now, let's say we thought it through and we decided that this screen is too big and we need to refactor something. So we decide to move the logic for building card to a different class. Very simple. In order to do that, we create a new class called person card. We move the entire logic for building the card to build method, and voila, we can now create the card by calling person card constructor, and the code is much shorter and more readable in the homepage state. But it turns out that now there is a problem, because first name and last name from person card are in the first name and last name from homepage. Right? So there are completely 2 different classes, and every time user inputs new text, our widget won't get updated because different variables will get updated. And this is actually quite a common problem in Flutter, because in Flutter you will be creating deep trees of widgets all the time, and sometimes the text in a leaf will need data from the top of the tree. And we certainly don't want to pass data through all the constructors or all the setters down the tree. And we also don't want to use singleton for every kind of data. And this is exactly where provider comes as handy, because it helps with passing objects down the tree. So to use it, we create a simple data holder class called personIDdetails to wrap first name and last name variables in one holder. Next, we replace first name and last name with the personIDdetails variable, and we wrap our column with provider.value and pass the personIDdetails as value. Thanks to this, every child widget of the column will be able to retrieve personIDdetails we just specified. So let's do this. We go back to our person card class, and in the build method we call provider.auth. We pass the build context and specify what type of data we want to retrieve. Finally, we use the retrieve personIDdetails to update the text. Ta-da! Now everything works again because we are using the same personIDdetails as the homepage, and we are all good. So to summarize, in Flutter, we are creating huge, deep trees of widgets all the time, and provider immensely helps with passing objects down the tree.
Okay, so Flutter in a nutshell. So Flutter comes with various advantages, like Flutter it's faster and more dynamic development. And Flutter and Dart teams are really listening to the community. So if you want something from the language or from the framework which is not there, just simply create the issue, and there's a good chance that they will actually implement this. It works great for both standard UIs and custom UIs. Like you could see, we can create a material app, we can create Cupertino app, but if we want to go crazy and create even our own stylish app, then we can do this. And if something is not available in Flutter, you can always backport to the native stuff, so, like you have on Android and iOS. So you have like custom video player that you want to use, you can simply open the activity and done.
But it also comes with various downsides. So for example, there are too many immature libraries in version 0 point something. There are no data classes, no label types or extension functions. And occasionally both Android and iOS knowledge is needed, which might be quite challenging. But at the same time, we are still excited about the future of Flutter. And of course, while you can never be sure about the future of anything, there are some promising statistics and projects going on. So all the Dart features I just mentioned, like data classes, extension functions, and nullability types, they are coming. There are more and more libraries, articles, and best practices being established. And Flutter is constantly growing in popularity, and also the number of its developers keeps growing. So right now, Flutter is 21st most start repo on GitHub. It was also voted 3rd most loved framework in last Stack Overflow survey. And recently, it even surpassed React Native on Stack Overflow in terms of asked questions. Similarly, more and more companies are using Flutter, and that includes some big names like Alibaba, Dream11, Groupon, BMW, and of course Google. And some of their apps are already used by millions of users, and everything works well. So finally, some less sure things about the future. So there is already developer preview of Flutter for web, as we showed you. Google also used Flutter to build apps for their home hubs. And people are even trying to use Flutter on embedded devices like Raspberry Pi. And finally, Google is also working on a new operating system called Fuchsia, on which Flutter will be the default way to create apps. How is this going to work? Well, we'll see. But as of right now, Flutter is definitely production ready for mobile apps, and we encourage all of you to go and try it, because the more people are using it, the more powerful it will be. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.